Coins. Altcoins are alternative coins, which means any coin other than Bitcoin. There's another more common term for altcoins, which is, I'm not going to say it out loud, but they're called SHIT coins. You can spell that one out yourself. SHIT coins, which are also known as altcoins, are all the junk tokens that are full on cryptocurrency platforms where they make a ton of money by people like you buying and selling these tokens, but they don't actually have any underlying value. So what happens every time Bitcoin starts going up aggressively for long enough, everyone starts assuming altcoins, because they're smaller, their value is lower, will go up faster. And so inevitably, people by the millions have the same idea, which is, okay, we know Bitcoin's really the only one that has long-term value, but if these other tokens are going up faster in the near term, then why don't we buy these junk tokens and then ride them up like a wave, jump off at just the right time, and buy Bitcoin with the proceeds, and we will end up with more Bitcoin. It never works. People get burned all the time. Please don't do it. It's a dumb idea. Everyone has the same idea. They all think it's an original idea. I've heard this idea from hundreds of different people, and virtually all of them, like a casino, get burned. They're all positive they're going to play poker or blackjack or slot machines until they're up, and then they're going to stop. None of them do. None of them know when to start. None of them know when to stop. They always end up losing money, and they always come back and say, well, Joel, you were right, but, and then they have some excuse of why it would have worked out, except for this extenuating circumstance that couldn't have possibly been predicted. And so I wasn't really right, because they did lose money, but they didn't lose money exactly the way they thought they might lose money, and so they almost won. Well, same with everybody at a casino. Almost nobody who loses money at a casino walks out and says, I was an idiot. They all say, I knew I should have stopped when I was up $250. I knew it. My gut told me to stop, but I just decided to play one more hand, and before you know it, I had mortgaged my house. So it's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid. Don't do that. Okay, but let me dig deeper, because it's one thing to just say, don't do it, it's stupid. It's another thing to understand why. So in the world of crypto and blockchains, there's exactly one really provable, and that is for decentralized money. A non-sovereign, neutral reserve currency that anyone in the world can use as a money that the government doesn't control. And that is Bitcoin. Nothing's even competing with Bitcoin for that anymore. In fact, you'll notice no other cryptocurrency even pretends it's competing with Bitcoin anymore. They've all given up on even pretending they're competing with Bitcoin. So now they all claim that they're competing with something else. They're competing to be the leading smart contract platform. Okay, so none of these platforms and technologies are even competing with Bitcoin anymore, and they don't even pretend to be competing with Bitcoin. They're all competing to be a smart contract or a meme coin or a stable coin. But they all have the same problem, which is that they're subject to competition that doesn't apply to Bitcoin. So I've done a ton of videos about why Bitcoin is different, why Bitcoin is basically immune from competition and all of that. But none of these are the same way. So all of these platforms compete with each other. So for example, I heard a guy on CNBC talking about the fact that he had invested in Ethereum because the stablecoin bill had just passed in Congress, and stablecoins are a cryptographic token that one coin represents $1, $1. There's no reason to invest in a stablecoin because they mathematically cannot go above $1. And unless they're completely broken and going to zero, they always trade for $1. So there's no reason to own them as an investment asset, because it's like owning the US dollar as an investment asset. Well, it only ever goes down, and same with stablecoins. But anyway, he was saying he was investing in Ethereum because the stablecoins were going to be a big deal, and some of them ran on Ethereum. So I did a quick search and to find out what smart contract platforms you can run stablecoins on. So here's the list. Now this is, again, I don't know why the bozo on CNBC didn't bother to Google this before he went on CNBC talking about it. But the same stablecoins that he thinks are going to be a big deal on Ethereum already trade on Tron, Solana, Algorand, Avalanche, Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism, BNB Smart Chain, EOS, Near, Stellar, and Base. Okay, so he's buying Ethereum thinking, ooh, they're going to transact on Ethereum. Most of the USDT, which is the largest stablecoin, most of that volume of USDT is on Tron. Why is it on Tron? Because Tron is a cheaper smart contract platform. So all of these smart contract platforms are trending toward basically zero, because they're all trending toward the price of running the platform, and there will always be a newer, better, cheaper, more centralized smart contract platform that you can run this stuff on. So I don't know why anybody would buy Ethereum or Solana or anything else assuming that this stuff is going to be a big deal, because there will constantly be a new string of smart contract platforms that you can use that are cheaper and cheaper and faster and better. And there's no network effects with a smart contract platform. If you want to use a smart contract platform for decentralized finance, which I'm not even going to go into, it's almost entirely smoke and mirrors. But if you want to do that, you're always going to use whatever's good enough. There's no reason to use one platform versus another as long as the technology is good enough and it's cheap. So there's just no reason to believe that, any of these is a good investment. So if you're buying, for example, on here, if you're buying Solana because you think, well, Solana is the hot new platform, guess what? It was Ethereum before that. It'll be Sui after that. It'll be Tron. It'll be it's just a constant revolving door of platforms that all get made obsolete by the one after them. And if you don't know for a fact that that's not going to happen to your favorite altcoin, I promise you it will happen to your favorite altcoin. In addition, all of these altcoins are trending towards zero because, again, there's no reason for a smart contract platform to be more valuable than the price of running the network. Because if it's more valuable than the price of running the network, it will be outcompeted by another smart contract platform with lower fees. Because you're not going to pay $20 to transact on Ethereum if you can pay 2 cents to transact on Tron. And so it's just a perpetual race to the bottom. So somebody mentioned to me, they were like, yeah, but what about the fact that BlackRock is doing this tokenized platform, and it's going to be a huge deal, and it's tokenized real world assets, blah, blah, blah. And they had just announced that they were coming to Solana. And so some people were like, look, this is going to be a huge deal. Solana, they picked Solana. It's a huge, they picked Solana. BlackRock picked Solana. Okay. So I did a quick Google search because, as my kids know, if you ever have an idea, run it by Google. Actually, start with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is way better. Start with ChatGPT, then Google, then YouTube to find out the truth. And in this case, because you're not trying to figure out how to do something, it would be primarily ChatGPT and Google. So a quick ChatGPT tells me that before BlackRock chose Solana to list their this tokenized security, it was already, meaning they had already listed it on Ethereum, Polygon, Aptos, Arbitrum, Optimism, Avalanche, and now Solana. Okay, so this thing's already trading on Ethereum, Polygon, Aptos, Arbitrum, Optimism, and Avalanche. And then they announce it's coming to Solana, and people are like, this is a huge deal. It's coming to Solana. Solana is the new platform. It's like, seriously, why is Solana the new platform if before Solana, BlackRock chose Ethereum, Polygon, Aptos, Arbitrum, Optimism, and Avalanche? Before Solana. It's just going to keep happening over and over and over. And nobody who's invested in the stuff can articulate to me why the token that they think is going to go up faster than Bitcoin is not going to be made obsolete by another token. Now, again, I have done numerous videos on why that dynamic does not apply to Bitcoin. In the case of Bitcoin, what you're going for is security and decentralization. The implementation of Bitcoin is such that you cannot make a blockchain that is more secure and more decentralized than Bitcoin. And if you need to scale it, you can scale it with things like the Lightning Network. So with Bitcoin, you get the best of all worlds. You get the scaling with the Lightning Network and other layer 2 solutions, and you get the security and decentralization, which is the only thing that really matters for a decentralized money, is decentralization and security. So Bitcoin already nailed that. There's no way to upgrade Bitcoin because the things that matter for a decentralized money are already a 10 out of 10 or a 100 out of 100 or whatever you want to call it. And the only things that could be improved about Bitcoin come with fundamental flaws that cause them to be inferior. So, for example, if you increase the privacy of Bitcoin, you make it less likely that platforms will list it because criminals are more likely to use it. So Bitcoin has good privacy now. If you make it completely anonymous, then criminals can use it, and then that's why platforms will not list things like what is it? I forget what the token is, that like the privacy token, Monero. That's what it is, XMR. The XMR token is not listed on any major platforms, certainly not for the United States, because it's too anonymous and criminals use it too much. Bitcoin, criminals tend to not use Bitcoin unless they're stupid, because if you get a warrant, you can figure out who owns the account behind it from law enforcement at Coinbase or wherever, which is, again, is a good level of security. It's the maximum amount of security and privacy you can get without becoming a haven for money laundering and illicit activity. So every choice that Bitcoin made it optimum as money, and you can't upgrade something that's already perfect as money. These smart contract platforms can always be upgraded by something that's faster, better, cheaper, and that will continue to happen forever. So every time somebody comes up with a new token and they're like, no, the next big thing is Sui, the next big thing is Solana, the next big things, I look these things up. They've all been around for years. They've all gone up and down as people have hyped and pumped them in their early days before realizing that they were just going to be made obsolete by something else. And this goes on and on. So in summary, don't buy stupid stuff that's going to zero thinking that you're going to get out and sell it to a greater fool. These altcoins are all subject to being made obsolete by a new altcoin. Virtually all of them have already. If you look at the top 10 or the top 20 crypto tokens, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and well, not 20 because it didn't exist, but 5, 10, 12, whatever, years ago, it's all different coins. They've all been made obsolete. The big hot coins from the early days of crypto are all gone, except for Bitcoin. So the same thing's going to happen with the current crop of hot new coins. It's just not worth it. So buy as much Bitcoin as you can, hold it for as long as conceivably possible. Everything else other than Bitcoin is going to eventually end up getting outcompeted by something else. And all of these other things, whether it's a meme coin or something, a meme coin or a smart contract platform, all of them are going to be one-upped by something new and lose their luster, tarnish, and fade to irrelevance, leaving what they always leave, which is Bitcoin. So just invest in Bitcoin. It's really that simple. It's not that hard. Don't outsmart yourself. Don't cheat yourself out of Bitcoin by investing in junk. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks.